Welcome to the Trojan Windup. I'm your host, AJ Lawrence, and I'm going to give you the rundown on what went down during Week 10 of USC's baseball season. The Trojans began the week with a short trip across town to play the Pepperdine Waves. USC had beaten the Waves just 3 weeks ago by a score of 5-2. But Pepperdine had gotten hot since then, winning 9 of 11. It was anticipated to be a tight matchup, and things turned out just as expected. The Trojans would have a staff day on the mound, starting with Kyle Davis. Davis gave up 1 hit and struck out 2 in his 2 innings of work. Bernardo Flores came in for the next 4 innings, giving up a pair of hits and striking out 6. He gave way to Tyler Gilbert, who struck out 2 more in his 3 innings of work. Unfortunately, the Trojans' bats were quiet as well. Troy delivered just singles by Dante Flores and Bobby Stahl through the first 8 innings. The game was still scoreless going into the 9th. USC got a leadoff double by Jeremy Martinez, but runners were stranded at 2nd and 3rd, and the game went into extra innings. In the 10th, Mark Huberman came in relief. He gave up a pair of singles, but got a huge strikeout to end the threat and to keep Troy's hopes alive. In the 11th, the Trojans got a leadoff walk from Timmy Robinson. He advanced to 3rd with 1 out on a wild pitch and an error, but USC couldn't knock him in. In its half of the inning, Pepperdine ended up loading the bases with 2 outs, but another huge K by Huberman sent the game to the 12th. USC started the inning with a double by Alberto Carrillo. An infield single by Reggie Southall and catcher's interference against Stahl loaded the bases with nobody out. After a strikeout and a lineout, it looked like the Trojans would squander another opportunity. But Robinson came up with a huge single to left to give USC a 2-0 lead. In the bottom of the inning, Huberman retired the side in order, closing out the win. On Friday, the Trojans would open a 3-game series at home against the Oregon Ducks. Brent Wheatley got the start and was shaky in the top of the first, giving up 4 runs on 2 hits and 2 walks. But he settled down after that. USC answered with 3 runs of their own in the first. Robinson scored, Stubbs on a bunt single. Then, with the bases loaded, Blake Lacey came to the plate.
Rubens 1-0 back up the middle. That's in for a base hit. 1 run comes in to score. Robinson will be sent around 3rd. Here comes the throw to the plate. It's cut off. Timmy now slides in safely. And the Trojans with 2 more here in the first inning. It's a 2 RBI single for Blake Lacey.
That hit made it 4-3 after 1. Wheatley came out on the 4th and was relieved by Gilbert, who got a strikeout to end the inning. David Oppenheim and Angelo Labruna singled, and Stahl got hit by a pitch to load the bases with 1 out. A walk to Stubbs forced in the tying run, but a bunt by Martinez forced Labruna at the plate. With 2 outs, Robinson broke the game wide open.
Here comes the 1-1. Timmy gives a right of this pitch. It's got some carry. Back to the warning track now. That's not going to be caught. It's gone. A grand slam for Timmy Robinson. The Trojans get the big swing here in the inning. It's a grand slam for Robinson. The Trojans with a 5 spot here in the inning, led by Timmy Robinson. Home run number 2 for Robinson, and the Trojans take an 8-4 lead.
It was the first grand slam of Robinson's career, and it catapulted the Trojans out to an 8-4 lead. Gilbert cruised into the 7th, where a single and double gave the Ducks a run, making it 8-5. But in the bottom half of the frame, there were more offensive fireworks for the Trojans. Dante Flores led off with a walk, then Lacey doubled him home. Oppenheim followed with an RBI single, and a Carrillo single moved him to 3rd. Labruna got an RBI on a sac fly, then singles by Stahl and Stubbs brought home Carrillo. A.J. Ramirez came up with the bases loaded, and he nearly gave the Trojans their 2nd grand slam of the day. Ramirez would settle for a sac fly, and the inning would end with USC leading 13-5. That would be the final score, as Brooks Kriske would come in to record the final 5 outs. Game 2 was a 2 p.m. start, and with campus packed due to the Festival of Books, many fans didn't get into the stadium until well after the game started. Kyle Toomey started for USC, and he had some wildness in the first, walking a batter and hitting a pair to load the bases with 2 outs. Toomey would get out of trouble with the strikeout of Austin Grayback, but he wouldn't be so lucky in the second. 2 singles and an error loaded the bases with 1 out. Then a double by Nick Catalano scored them all for a 3-0 lead. After a fly out to left for the second out, the next 4 batters reached base. capped by a double by Nick Caravillos. That knocked Toomey from the game. Bernardo Flores got the final out, but USC trailed 7-0. The Ducks would add single runs in the third and sixth, extending their lead to 9-0 before the Trojans would get on board. In the bottom of the sixth, Stahl got a single to extend his hitting streak to 20 games. Stubbs would single to right, going to third, bringing home Stahl on an error by the right fielder. Martinez singled in Stubbs, and USC had started to chip away at Oregon's lead. In the seventh, Ramirez doubled and stole third to bring up LaBruna. It was now 9-3, and it looked like the Trojans' offense might be coming to life just in the nick of time. The Ducks silenced any hopes of a comeback, though. They put up 5 more runs in their half of the eighth. USC got 1 more in the bottom of the inning on singles by Joe Corrigan and Carrillo. But that was it. Oregon would take Game 2 of the series by a score of 15-4. Sunday was an opportunity for the Trojans to win their 8th series of the year, and Mitch Hart was on the mound. The game started off with a bang as Jacob Goldfarb hit Hart's first pitch over the right field wall for a home run. After an error and a fly ball put another runner at third, Lacey came up with a defensive gem.
He needs a big pitch here. 0-2 fastball ripped to third. Lacey goes to the bag. That's a double play. Blake Lacey bailing out his pitcher with a diving stab and completes the double play.
That double play would end the inning with the Ducks leading by just 1 run. In the bottom of the first, USC would get things going. Stubbs walked, Martinez got hit, and Robinson singled to load the bases for Flores.
Waiting now, here's the 1-1. Swings and rips one to left field for a base hit. Stubbs comes in to score. Martinez being waved in. Here comes the throw to the plate. It is not in time as Jerry Martinez comes around to score. It's a 2 RBI single for Flores, and the Trojans are off and running here in the first, leading 2-1.
That scored 2 and gave the Trojans the lead. In the bottom of the second, David Edson led off with a walk. Reggie Southall got hit by a pitch, then sacrifices by Stahl and Stubbs brought in a run, making it 3-1. In the third, Flores led off with a single and advanced to second with 2 outs. Edson stepped up looking for his first RBI of the season. Flores was called out at home and the score remained 3-1. In the fourth, Stahl came up looking to extend his hit streak.
Now he swings, adds right to it. Here's a base hit in the right field and possibly more. This ball goes to the wall. Bobby Stahl at second base going to push it. Here comes Stahl around the corner to third. The throw is cut off and not in time as Stahl reaches on a triple to right field. And I'll just shut up and let Stahl do the work. It's a base hit into right and runner at third now with 1 down.
He's now hit safely in 21 consecutive games, tying Jimmy Roberts' streak in 2013. Stubbs brought Stahl home with a fly ball, making it 4-1. Meanwhile, Hart was on the cruise control, giving up just 1 more hit and striking out 6 through the 5th. But in the 6th, Oregon would threaten. The Ducks would get runners to second and third with 1 out. But Hart would get Scott Heineman and Brandon Cuddy to end the inning. Hart would end the day with 8 strikeouts. The Ducks mounted a comeback in the 7th off Huberman. 2 singles and a walk loaded the bases, then a single by Catalano made it 4-3. After a fly out, Huberman faced Phil Craig St. Louis. With the tying run at second, USC would get those runs right back, though. Stubbs walked and Martinez reached on an error, setting up a sacrifice by Robinson. Flores walked to load the bases for Lacey, and that brought in a run that kept the bases loaded for Oppenheim.
Eventually walking was Flores to load the bases, and now, with already run in, trying to add on. Oppenheim skies one to left. Tagging here is Martinez. The catch is made. Hustling to the plate. He'll make it in time. And the Trojans add to their lead with a sacrifice fly from David Oppenheim. A second run in the inning now and make it 6-3 Trojans.
The Trojans had extended their lead back to 3. USC would add on 1 more in the 8th on a sac fly by Martinez, and the Trojans would win by a final score 7-3. It was another series win for the Trojans, and it kept them in the 3rd place in a tight race atop the conference standings. The Trojans enter Week 11 with some pretty good stats. USC is 29-10 overall, 10-5 in conference, and they're holding down the number 10 spot in the rankings for a 2nd week in a row. The Trojans have worked very hard this season, and they get a much-deserved 4-day break before a 3-game set against Oregon State. USC heads up to Corvallis, Oregon to face the Beavers starting on Friday. Last season, the Trojans beat the Beavers, claiming victory in 2 of 3 games here at Dato Field. And this season, the Beavers are 25-12 overall and 8-7 in Pac-12 play. It'll be an exciting matchup. Thanks for watching the Trojan Windup. I'm AJ Lawrence, and you can catch us here every week. Fight on!